Hello again, Sunshine Fam. Welcome back to my channel. I appreciate each and every one of you, especially the over 300 people that watched my last video. You guys are making me blush here and making me a little nervous that I'm talking to so many people. Could be the same person watching the same video over and over and over and over again. I have no idea. But anyway, today's video is going to be a little bit different, as I'm sure you can tell by the title of this video. Today's video, I would like to thank one of my non-Sunshine Family people that commented on my last video. Her comments had nothing to do with what the video was about, because my last video was about divorce. And yes, I did use some terms that the Irish use, and I did use some terms that the English use. I put about this much information in that video about politics. But this person decided to make her comments about politics between our country in America and her country in England. So first, let me tell you who this person is, in case you haven't seen the comments. Her name is Ellie Elizabeth, and her YouTube channel is @EllieElizabeth2783. Now, I don't tell you this so that you can go and look her up and subscribe to her, because if Ellie knew me at all, she knows that she would know that I do research. All of you know I do a lot of research. So I decided to do some research on Ellie. Don't worry, it's nothing negative. She joined YouTube on July 13th of 2013. She's only got 7 subscribers, but she has absolutely no content, which means that she doesn't make any videos. She does have a playlist of songs, like a few songs that she must listen to. But she commented on my video that I called Drew Lynch versus Chloe Talking Divorce. So, in that, she claims that the Irish, English, and likely the Germans, quote unquote, don't claim you lot Americans. And that America is an embarrassment. Hey, Ellie, why don't you tell us something we don't know? Let me point something out here. We already know we're an embarrassment. We already know our leader is an embarrassment. But I'll get into that in just a moment. So the other day, on Saturday, March 28th of 2026, every single state, that's right, every 50 states, all states in the 50 states, held a No Kings rally across this entire country. And the collective amount of people in every state was billions of people taking to the streets to protest our leadership. So the other thing that Ellie told me, because I told her that I was part Irish and that I was also English, French, and German. And then she was talking about how embarrassing America is. And I said, well, believe me, we know this. And we would love to get rid of our leader. So she says, well, then take control. Go ahead and get rid of him. Ellie, it's not that easy. We can't just march to Washington, D.C. and demand that he leave office. We've tried, trust me. And not just this president. We're talking about other presidents as well. She also claims the people of the UK would sack the prime minister, to use a British term, if they were, quote unquote, these are her words, a lying, racist, vile waste of skin. Really? Shall we go to my research on that? So I asked Google if the British people could fire the Prime Minister, and this is what I found out. British people cannot directly fire a Prime Minister outside of a general election. The Prime Minister is removed through internal political party rules, a parliamentary vote of no confidence or resignation. Kind of the same way it works here, but we'll get into that. The public influences this by applying pressure on MPs, who then trigger party leadership contests. So the way a prime minister is removed, the internal party leadership challenge. MPs from the PM, or prime minister's own party, can initiate a no confidence vote. If the prime minister loses this, they are replaced. Vote of no confidence. The House of Commons can pass a motion of no confidence. If the government loses this, the prime minister must resign or call an election. Resignation. A prime minister may resign due to political pressure, loss of party support, or after losing a general election. The general election. The party can vote in a new party in a general election, which happens at least every 5 years. Monarch intervention. While theoretical, the sovereign has the power to dismiss a prime minister, mainly if they refuse to resign after losing a confidence vote. So British people cannot fire the prime minister directly, but they can force change by voting in general elections or pressuring their MPs. So she also went on to say that her government isn't the greatest either, and that they can sack the prime minister and they can get rid of royalty too. So I looked that up too. I asked, can the British people fire royalty? The answer I got was yes. The British people can legally remove the monarchy through their elected parliament, though it is a complex constitutional process requiring significant public support, likely through a referendum. The monarchy can be abolished or altered by passing new laws, as Parliament holds ultimate sovereign power. So it sounds pretty similar to what we have here in the US. So how the process works. A referendum. A public vote would likely be required to establish a mandate for removing the king as head of state, king or queen. Act of Parliament. Parliament must pass legislation to formally abolish the monarchy. Parliament, not the people, as the crown is woven into the legal framework of the state. Succession changes. Parliament already holds the power to change the line of succession, as it did in 1936 to allow Edward VIII to abdicate. Now, for those of you that are American or from other countries that don't really know how the monarchy works and what this whole thing with abdicating with King Edward VIII, I'll give you a little brief lesson of what I know, okay, what I've learned that's not in here. So Edward was first in line for the throne when, I think it was his father, died. Could have been Victoria, I don't remember. I don't remember who was king or queen above him. So he took the throne for a short period of time. He fell in love with an American divorcee. Well, at that time, the monarchy would not allow a royal to marry outside of the royal family or anyone who had been divorced, which I find interesting because a lot of these monarchs, especially the kings from way back when, I've seen the show The Tudors, a lot of these kings would have mistresses on the side while they're married. But apparently the monarchy doesn't look down on that. I think King Charles did the same thing, actually, when he was just prince, and he did it to Diana with Camilla. So when Edward fell in love with and wanted to marry a woman by the name of Wallis Simpson, they said, nope, you can't do it. You're king. The only way that you can marry her is if you abdicate the throne, which means you quit. You resign. You give up the crown. So he says, okay, I don't want to be king. I want to marry this woman and I want to live in America. So that's what he did. He quit his job, and the title of king went to his brother, who was Elizabeth's father. Okay, Queen Elizabeth, the one that recently died. Longest reigning monarch in the history of England. How am I doing, Ellie? So once his brother passed away in 1936, or no, it would have been somewhere around that time, Elizabeth, who was the firstborn, became queen. And of course, we all know that she was the longest reigning queen that England has ever had. Over 70 years, I believe. So that's the story of Edward. He was king, but he wanted to marry Wallis Simpson. So he abdicated the throne so he could marry Wallis Simpson and move here to America and live with her and live happily ever after. Key considerations. While protesters, not my king, exist, polls suggest a majority of British people still support keeping the monarchy. Removing the king would also require massive, complex changes to the Church of England. I don't know much about that. The army, and other national institutions. The monarch is a constitutional figurehead and the head of state, but not an executive ruler, meaning the political power to remove them already rests with the democratic government, which I believe is Parliament. But here's the interesting thing that I found out while watching a video a couple years ago, well, several years ago, before Queen Elizabeth died. Apparently, a king or queen of England is above the law. They could murder somebody and never spend 1 second in handcuffs, never spend 1 second in jail. Is that true? For my British folks, please comment below and let me know if that's still true or if that ever was true. That's just what I read or what I saw in the video, that the Queen was above the law. As far as I know, that is the only leader that would be above the law. As far as I know. Okay, so then, because she was saying, why don't you take a stand? Elliot was telling me, why don't you take a stand and get rid of your president? Let me explain why. So how a president is fired in the U.S., I looked up. A U.S. president is quote-unquote fired through a two-step impeachment and conviction process for treason, bribery, or other high crimes and misdemeanors. The House of Representatives first votes by simple majority to impeach or charge the president. Then the Senate holds a trial requiring a 2/3 vote to convict and remove them. Now, if you go back to the first time Nicolae Carpathia was president, they impeached him, I think 3 or 4 times, but he was never found guilty. That's why he's still our president, even though Biden was in between his 2 presidencies. Which is not the first time a president had a split, like, a president can serve 8 years. The only president we've ever had that has served more than 2 terms, 1 term is 4 years, the only president we've ever had that served more than 2 terms and changed that rule was Franklin Delano Roosevelt. You want to know more about him? Go to my presidential highlights videos and watch all 7 videos of his, because I didn't have a very good camera at the time. So it's broken up into lots of different videos, and I didn't have editing software at the time. He did a lot for our country, by the way. His name is FDR, they call him. And yes, he was president during World War II. So he is the only president that we've ever had that has served more than 2 terms, even though prior to him becoming president, any of the previous presidents could have done the same, but they chose not to. So step 1, the House impeaches the indictment. The House Judiciary Committee or Special Investigation investigates allegations, and the House passes articles of impeachment by a simple majority vote, officially charging the president. Step 2, the Senate convicts. So you got the House and you've got the Senate, and then you got the House of Representatives, the Senate, and the Congress. So you got 3 forms of government. The Senate convicts, so that's the trial. The Senate conducts a trial presided over by the Chief Justice of the U.S. Supreme Court. Senators act as jurors. Removal. A 2/3 majority of the Senate present, 67 senators if all are present, is required to convict and remove the president. Disqualification. If convicted, a separate vote may be held by permanently disqualifying the individual from holding future federal office. Side note, while many presidents have been impeached, no U.S. president has been removed via the impeachment process. You're thinking, really? Wasn't Richard Nixon removed? Actually, no. Actually, they put this in here. Richard Nixon resigned before being impeached over the Watergate scandal. Another option exists, the 25th Amendment. We may have been hearing about that in the news lately, including from Nikolai Carpathia. It allows the vice president and a majority of the cabinet to declare the president unfit for office, though this is intended for disability rather than political, wrongdoing-related firing. So Ellie, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity for a new and fresh look and educating me somewhat on the differences between your government and our government here. So thank you. To the rest of my Sunshine fam, let's all thank Ellie for giving us the opportunity to learn the differences between the American government and the UK government. She's the one that put this idea in my head. Okay. So what is the UK given to America? And this doesn't mean that all these things that I list, that these items or these shows or these, well, not items, but these shows or these people are living here in America. But they originated in the UK. Elton John. Sir Elton John, I should say. The Rolling Stones. America's Got Talent. We took that from Britain's Got Talent. Josh and Jace. They are another, I think they're friends from England that have come to America and have shown us Americans how beautiful America could be through the eyes of a British person. Might want to check them out. Josh and Jace. Jace. They are quite funny. Andrew. Mountbatten Windsor. Seriously? Do we know who Andrew Mountbatten Windsor is? I think we should, since the Epstein Files has been a major source of debate over the last few months. Why is it, this is what gets me, why is it that the UK arrested him because of his association with Jeffrey Epstein, on his birthday, by the way. Happy 66th birthday, Andrew. And they also arrested another person. I don't know if they ever named him, or if they did, I don't remember what the person's name was, a gentleman. I think the same day, for also having ties with Jeffrey Epstein in the UK. But yet, America redacts the names of the pedophiles that were associated with Jeffrey Epstein, and none of them are being held accountable. So bravo to you, UK, and I don't mean that sarcastically. I mean that seriously. Bravo for arresting at least one of your higher royalty people, or former royalty people. And let's talk about that for a minute. He was known, at least this is what I'm hearing, he was known as Queen Elizabeth's favorite son. He was never really up for the throne, unless Charles would have abdicated, then I think Andrew would have been next in line. He can't be now. But she knew, before she died, this all came out by a young woman by the name of Virginia Giuffre, who lived in America, was trafficked through Jeffrey Epstein to Andrew. And yet the Queen never took him away from his titles, never did anything to him, never had him arrested, nothing. As soon as King Charles steps in, well, maybe not as soon, but because the Epstein files are coming up and Andrew has been seen in a few pictures with a girl on the floor. Of course, her face is blacked out, but he's leaning over her. This reached the ears of King Charles and the eyes of King Charles. And he called Andrew into his office and said, "You're out. You're my brother. I love you. You're out. You are no longer a prince. You no longer hold any titles. I'm going to make you leave your palace. You're being cut off from finances." I believe that was the case. And his wife was really no better. I'm talking about Andrew's, ex-wife now, Fergie, Sarah Ferguson. She was caught in some scandals too. I think she was embezzling money or something. That was many years ago. So why did it take King Charles to strip him of his title? Why did it take King Charles to get him arrested? Why didn't the Queen do it? It's an interesting question, I think. Harry Potter. Thank you for that one. Queen. We will rock you. The Beatles. Who do you think you are? That's the TV show that I've talked about before that inspired me to do my own version of that I call Who Am I? I know I haven't made another video of that yet. Still kind of working on that. Now that I'm back to work, my time is limited again. But Lisa Kudrow went over to England. Lisa Kudrow, for those of you that don't know, was on the TV show Friends. She's been in different movies. She was over in England. I don't know if she's filming a movie, a TV show, or just there on vacation, whatever. But she saw this show on their TV, on their telly, called Who Do You Think You Are? And it's about celebrities that dig into their genealogy. And she thought it was a really cool idea. So when she came home, she pitched it to some producers, and she became the executive producers. They snatched up the idea. So for a few years here in the U.S., they don't do it here anymore. I think they still do it in the U.K. And she was the first person that they did a show on with Lisa Kudrow of Who Do You Think You Are? So thank you, Lisa, for bringing that to our airwaves. Harry and Meghan. Really? I didn't really know much about Meghan Markle before this whole Harry and Meghan thing happened. But Harry isn't exactly a good role model from the royal family either, even well before he met Meghan. Wearing a Nazi uniform, going to Vegas and stripping down and showing off the royal jewels, as they say. Then he marries Meghan. Did anybody see their wedding? Why did they have an American pastor go over there and give a 45-minute sermon talking about Martin Luther King Jr. in a wedding in England that was a royal wedding? When they were showing the faces of people like Eugenie and Beatrice and William and Kate, they were looking like they could hardly contain their laughter. And I don't blame them. Meghan tried too hard to Americanize the Brits. You don't do that. You're marrying into the royal family. You're becoming them, not the other way around. And why did Harry leave? Do you think Diana would have approved of that? Maybe, maybe not. You don't hear much about Harry and Meghan anymore. At least we don't. I haven't in a while. But a lot of times people were saying that Meghan was kind of controlling Harry. I mean, every time he would go to talk to a woman, Meghan would kind of put herself in the middle of the two of them and like push him off to the side, or, touch his back or touch his arm or something. Like she had to be in control. It's not how a marriage works, sorry. I mean, far be it from me to talk about what marriage was, right? And this last one, you guys are all probably going to laugh at this one, but Benny Hill. I remember my dad watching that when I was growing up. That was an interesting show. So those are all things that came out of the UK. Not saying that Benny Hill was the greatest, but... Oh, and Monty Python, too. I forgot to write that one down, too. So let's compare Ellie to myself. Not to toot my own horn, because I don't really like to do that. But I have 315 subscribers to date. I have 181.1 thousand views over 289 videos. 1.2 thousand likes. This is of this morning. 474 comments. 533 shares. And in the last 7 days, I've had 371 views. Mostly on that last video, I believe. My first video I put out was on July 22nd of 2014, which received 100 views. That was of me doing Irish dancing on the streets of Maple Grove in a flash mob. My first year Irish dancing. After that, I went to Irish Fair and did some dancing, and I posted those videos up. Not just of myself, but of the other groups from the school I danced with. Rinkin Awa no longer exists. Those videos have received thousands of views, and I believe that's because I tagged Rinkin Awa, and a lot of people that were part of the Rinkin Awa family had viewed them and maybe shared them or whatever. I have had people comment on those videos that the language looks to be Russian. Some comments I've gotten look to be Southeast Asian because they are the symbols, not the letters that Americans use. So who is my audience? I looked into that too. 25 to 34-year-olds holds 20% of my audience. 35 to 44-year-olds, 29%. And 45 to 54-year-olds holds 14%. I have 36% of my audience that are male, 63% female. In the US, I have 18% audience. UK holds 9%, and Germany holds 5%. That's the only information I could get off my channel. So again, Ellie, I want to thank you for inspiring me to do this little comparison between our governments and to kind of put you in your place. Because you made it sound like you lot can fire the prime minister just by showing up and say, "Hey, get out." It's kind of the impression I got from your comments. Or that you can get rid of the king or the queen, whatever. How about the time when Diana died? Let's talk a little bit about the queen. She was a wonderful woman, okay? There's no doubt about that. Everybody in the world thinks that. She was a wonderful woman, did a lot. But there was a week during the time when Diana was killed. They made a movie out of it. Helen Mirren played the queen. And she was, in her defense, in the queen's defense, she was trying to protect William and Harry because they had lost their mother. She wasn't just Princess Diana. She was a mother. She was a wife. She had been divorced, but she had been a wife. She was a sister. She was a daughter. She was a human being. She did things the royal family totally looked down on her about. AIDS, for example. Walking through a minefield, for example. Granted, that was done after she was divorced. That was shortly before she was killed. But the Queen stayed up in Balmoral in Scotland with William and Harry, shielding them from all the talk that was going on in England about the death of Diana. And because Diana had been divorced, she was kind of stripped, I believe, from her HRH title. So the Queen really didn't want anything to do with her. She was a loose cannon in the royal family. Not that Charles was much better either. But for a week, the English people, according to this movie, and some of it was actual video footage of actual Brits on the street, not actors, but the actual people that were there to mourn her death, were saying, "Why is the Queen not here? Where is she? Why is she not leading her people?" So because of the pressure from the people and from the Prime Minister, trying to think of his name, Tony Blair, to come out of Scotland and come down to England and face the people, she finally did. She walked in front of Balmoral, or in front of Buckingham Palace, saw all the flowers, walked over to the crowd, a little girl. I even saw an interview that they did with this little girl after she had grown up, said that when the Queen came over to her, she gave her a bouquet of flowers. And the Queen asked, "Do you want me to set these down for you?" And the little girl says, "No, ma'am, these are for you." That's a kind gesture. All the adults were against the Queen during that week for not attending to her people and acknowledging Diana's death. And this little girl gave the Queen flowers for her, not for Diana. So I thought that was a very kind gesture on that girl's behalf. Young lady now. Don't remember her name, but she did an interview with her mother because her mother was with her that day. Even showed a picture of her handing the flowers to the Queen. Think of yourself as a 15-year-old or a 12-year-old little boy, having to walk behind a coffin of your mother on a gun carriage in front of millions of people worldwide, suffering the death of your mother. That's got to take a lot out of a kid. And you know what? I know a lot of the Brits despised, well, the royal family, maybe not the Brits so much. Some of them probably did, but Diana's brother Charles got up and said his piece. I applaud, along with the many other people that were there applauding. And I find it interesting that after he did his eulogy for Diana, Elton John got up and sang the only version of Candle in the Wind for Diana. He never recorded it professionally. But he did that song. And they wrote it within a week. He and Bernie Taupin. And it took a lot out of him because he was very close to Diana. He had a falling out, but then when, was it Versace that was killed? That he was very close to Versace as well. He and Elton John and Diana were sitting next to each other, and Elton was very distraught over the death of, I think it was Versace. He was shot outside his house. I could be wrong. But he was very moved by, very, very saddened by the death of his friend. And then, like a few weeks later, he's in the church again mourning Diana's death. Talk about a double whammy. Whether or not Elton John keeps in touch with William and Harry, I don't really know. I'm sure he does, because I think he might be the godfather of the two boys, I don't know. But I know he's very close to the royal family. But yeah, the British people were not very happy with the Queen during that week. I mean, they kind of pressured her into giving a statement in the Buckingham Palace, which she did a very beautiful job doing. She wasn't planning on doing that, but they kind of pressured her into it. And the thing that surprised the Brits the most is when the gun carriage went by, Queen Elizabeth and the royal family were standing out, at the gate of Buckingham Palace off to the side. And when the gun carriage rolled by her, she bowed her head to Diana, which a lot of Brits found very interesting. A lot of the world found interesting because royalty does not bow to anybody. Especially the head of royalty doesn't bow to anybody. I mean, yeah, the younger generation, like I've seen Kate curtsy to the king and to the queen, and when Meghan got married, she curtsied to the queen. I'm sure when Eugenie and Beatrice got married, they curtsied to the queen. But the queen and the king never bowed to anybody. But Queen Elizabeth did. She bowed her head. She didn't curtsy, but she bowed her head. I mean, a deep bow, almost to the waist, actually. And that surprised a lot of people. But that is honor to someone that the world loved and adored. So Ellie, if you're watching this, I invite you to comment again and tell me what I've gotten wrong here. Educate all of us. And let me know if I overstepped a bounds on how your country is run. I can tell you how ours is run. Trust me, if we could get him out of office, we would. I mean, let me look up his rating at the current time, because I go into this quite frequently. His approval rating, and I get this from a website called economist.com. Economist.com. He's not doing so great. Last week he was down by 0.2 points. This week he's down by 0.3 points. His rating on The Economist is a negative 18%. It's not approval rating. 38% approve, 56% disapprove, and 6% are not sure. Now, looking at this day between Carpathia's first and second terms and Biden's term, there's a little graph on here. On this graph, on this day, this particular day, Biden was way above Carpathia in both terms. Carpathia's numbers on this date, his first term, was way above where he is now. Biden quickly after today, his numbers went way down. But I don't know if you can see that. That line that goes up and down is today. Notice how Carpathia starts out just above the positives and quickly goes into the negatives, and he's never gotten positive again. You see how much we hate him, Ellie? Now, if we go by state, okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 states approve. 2 strongly approve, apparently. I'll get into that. Red states, those are in the gray. The red ones are much more. So this is the map by states. So the red boxes are the negative states, the ones that disapprove, and the gray ones are the ones that do approve. So let's look at DC, because they're the most. Yeah, he's way down in DC. DC isn't really a state, it's a city in Virginia. But that's where our government is from. That's where they all are out of. He has a net approval rating of negative 80 points in Washington, D.C., where he is currently living in that. Let's see how Minnesota fares. Minnesota has a negative 23 points. Vermont looks to be kind of high, negative 43 points. Now let's look at the positive ones. Idaho looks to be the highest. These are positive. He has a net approval rating of 26 points in Idaho. Wyoming, plus 22 points. Montana, plus 3 points. North Dakota, plus 8 points. Alabama, plus 2 points. Oklahoma, plus 3 points. Tennessee, plus 3 points. These have all gone up. At one point, there was like point something in some of these states. Arkansas is 1 point, plus 1 point. West Virginia is plus 16 points. And Utah is plus 2 points. Florida, which is where Mar-a-Lago is, where Carpathia and Epstein were next door neighbors. He has a net approval rating of negative 7 points. Now, I don't know if he even thinks that Hawaii and Alaska are part of America, because he never talks about the floods that are going on in Hawaii right now. Not on the news whatsoever. He has a net approval rating of negative 38 points in Hawaii. Alaska, negative 10 points. Remember when he was talking about Greenland? I don't know if any of you guys saw the Jon Stewart bit where he played a clip where Carpathia was talking to his cabinet, and he said, well, if we don't take Greenland, then Russia or China are going to take Greenland, and we don't want Russia or China to be our neighbors. Okay. Alaska and Hawaii are not attached whatsoever to the rest of the 48, what we call the continental 48. But Alaska is part of the United States. It is attached to Canada. It's technically our largest state. Everybody thinks that Texas is the largest state, but Alaska is really the largest state that the United States has, because it's got all those fjords that go down the west coast of Canada. So Alaska's our largest state. Do you realize that if you stand on the farthest west coast of Alaska, you're only 50 miles from the border of Russia? And Carpathia said he doesn't want Russia to be our neighbors. Greenland is like 2,500 miles from America. Russia is 50 miles. Carpathia, have you ever taken geography by chance? So, I'm going to end this here. And I invite Ellie, if you are watching, I thank you for giving me the inspiration to make this video. I'm sure that's not what you wanted me to do. Wasn't your intention. Your intention was to start a fight with me. You didn't win. Sorry. I wish you nothing but the best, my dear. I noticed you're not on my list of Sunshine Fam, unless you're further down the list, but I don't remember seeing your name. So in that respect, I can't call you one of my Sunshine Fam. If you wish to redact anything that you said to me, calling me a Yank, do you really think that's offensive to me? It's just a word, in my opinion. So you didn't win that one either, sorry. And while I may not have been born in England, Ireland, France, or Germany, my ancestors were. So while today those countries may not claim us lot as a part of their own, they sure did when my ancestors were living and growing up there. As a matter of fact, I have an ancestor that came from Liverpool. Isn't that where the Beatles came from? Pretty sure it is. So I do have the blood of German, Irish, English, and French running through my veins. Am I proud to be an American right now? I'm probably going to get a lot of hate for this, but no, not really. But things hopefully will be changing because billions of us 2 days ago stood up. Unfortunately, I was not able to because I was working. But billions of us stood up and made our voices very loudly heard. And Bernie Sanders was actually in St. Paul talking to the 150,000 expected people that showed up in St. Paul for the No Kings rally. That was very peaceful, by the way. So I invite you guys to go watch his full speech. I actually linked it to a comment back to Ellie. I think it was yesterday. Pretty sure it was yesterday after I got off of work. I saw that whole video, and he speaks for a lot of us. I believe Bernie Sanders is a senator. He doesn't like him either. Even I'm hearing from people like Luke Beasley, of course, and Jon Stewart, that even Carpathia's inner circle cabinet people don't like his policies either, and they're turning against him. And these people that Carpathia praised, now he thinks they're horrible people because they are against him. I strongly urge all of you who have not read the books or listened to the dramatic audio here on YouTube to look up Left Behind and read just the first book and listen to just the first audio, the dramatic audio. It's like listening to a movie. It's actors, sound effects, all that stuff. It's not the actual movie, but it's actually actors in a recording studio doing, acting out the books. It was more true to the books than the movies were. Just look up Left Behind dramatic audio here on YouTube and listen to the whole thing. And listen to how Carpathia, the actual character of Nicolae Carpathia, ran things at the beginning of his climb to the top, and compare that with what the US president is doing, it is equal to what Carpathia did in the books. Exactly equal. Taking over the news media, taking over late night talk show hosts, kicking them off the air because he doesn't like what they're saying against him. Starting wars he said he would never start. Starting as a pacifist. Being a womanizer. These are all things that a fictional character did in the books of Left Behind. And there are a lot of people that compare our president to Nicolae Carpathia. I'm not the only one. I looked it up. A lot of people claim that he is Nicolae Carpathia, and they compare the ICE agents to the GC, the global community from Left Behind. So seriously, read the book, listen to the audio, and you will get goosebumps. And your jaw will drop open at how perfect everything is going with a fictional story about Revelation and the Christian faith and the people that were raptured and those that were left behind for the 7-year tribulation, as to what is going on in America today with our so-called leader that I hate. Let's get that clear, Ellie. I don't care for the man, but he's not going to listen. He doesn't even know I exist. He doesn't know most of these people exist. He thinks his polls are higher than they've ever been, higher than any other president. Hate to tell you, but President H.W. Bush Jr., or W. Bush, had a 98% approval rating in the positive. You saw, he is nowhere close to that. So Ellie, go ahead and comment below. I may or may not respond. And I have no control over what somebody else has to say to you. So if you get hate from any of my people, I ask my Sunshine Fam to be kind and to be loving. But if you find a need to voice your opinion to Ellie, please do so respectfully. Do not use cuss words on my channel. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But put her in her place firmly if you don't agree with her. And Ellie, I welcome you to put me in my place if I've gotten anything here wrong in my research that I've done. And know that I do research, obviously, because I looked you up. Why don't you put out content? Why do you hide behind your camera? Or your phone or your computer, whatever. Not your camera, but because you don't have any content on your channel. Even though you joined, what, 13 years ago? You don't have one video of yourself. I have over 200. So, we'll leave it at that. So thank you, Sunshine Fam, for joining me today. I invite you to leave your comments below. And you guys have a sunny day. We'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.